dear. Just got a truck in the way. Just arrived at Harrods in London. And we're going to go inside and have a look. So what's this again? This is the lady dying. Inside Harrods. It takes a 6-second stall and it puts a little ball. At Tooley Street near London Dungeons, on my way to the Britain at War Museum. And that's where I was last time. Started raining again. Winston Churchill Museum. standing here by the Thames, just to finish the Britain at War experience. And this is HMS Belfast, so deciding whether I'm going to go on board or not. It's quite big, and in the background there's another famous sign of London. Ducks on the Thames. Tower of London, which I'm going to do in the last day. It's a Thames refuse service down there. Just an odd shaped building right next to the bridge. Well, this is a sight you don't see very often. This is just pure luck. My wind filter is working as the wind is blowing. That's the ship that had to come through. This is the hotel I'm staying at. It's not the most wonderful place, but it's £45 and it's about 5 minutes walk from Victoria Station. In Hugh Street. This is the view of the inside of the hotel room. It's quite neat, clean and tidy and sound. Actually inside there's a bit of building work going on. But otherwise it's actually quite a nice hotel room with the ensuite shower and so on. Actually I haven't seen me yet. Here's me. Oh sorry, there's me looking a bit tired and had to walk a long way today. Went round London Bridge, got a bit lost when I found the subway. So I ended up walking quite a long distance. Feet are getting a bit tired. I just hope that during the coach tour I'm not going to have to do this much walking. But seen most of what I wanted to see. Now at the hotel I'm going to just rest here for a little bit and then I'm going to go down to Burger King and go get something to eat. And tomorrow morning it's about 7:30. I've just been to Trafalgar, so I know where it is now. It's just around the corner, about 5-6 minutes walk or so. It's a bit later than I thought. Actual fact, I could probably have stayed with Suzanne then. But anyway, here I am. I'll do a view of the window quickly as well. It's right next to Victoria Station. I mean, there's the train, and you can see the extent of the lines and so on. I'll show you the view from the other window now as well. This is the view from the other window. You can see the Edward House Hotel over there, and St George's Drive, and that's the street I'm actually in. Oops, if I can just find the... Oh, there we go. Hugh Street, and that's the view down Hugh Street. It's not a bad area actually. It looks alright to walk in. There's a lot of bed and breakfast and so on around the corner here, all showing signs like vacancy or no vacancy, and you can basically just go in and then and take a place. And I didn't know that actually, and quite a few with vacancies. It's just like room after room next to each other. So, but anyway, here we are. So, train after train. I don't know. I just hope that this is not too going to be too noisy tonight.
Standing near Piccadilly Circus at the moment, out looking for supper. This is one of the interesting streets here. Heading on down towards Piccadilly Circus. Here at Piccadilly Circus. I'm at Trafalgar ready to leave. The pictures last night at Piccadilly were taken at 8:30 in the evening, 8:45. We're about to leave on the tour. It's 7:30 now in the morning.
which we call the heel stone. This is the one that casts its shadow into the centre of the circle. So you can see the taller stones there in the centre. They're in a horseshoe shape. And then you can see the outer stones. There was 30 of them originally, with the lintel stones as well. And you can see that half ball shape there, you know, like I say, each stone being carved exactly into place. You can see how far away the path is from the stones. So, you know, you can do what these youngsters are doing here on the left. You can come up to the wall and just take your photographs like that. That's up to yourselves. But like I say, this road is very dangerous, so you have to take lots of care. Now, the car park's over here on the right-hand side, and you'll see two stones to the right. They're ones that you can actually touch.
Touch. And we're going to be heading on to Salisbury now.
The mound. Town crier would come and tell you all the important news of the day.
Nice, okay.
Over to the right, we're beginning to see the spire of the cathedral, very tall, rather thin, elegant spire. And we're just crossing the Avon. And at the next lights, which are red at the moment, if you look to the right, that's the main street of Salisbury, which is called the High Street, and from the cathedral close it's just a few minutes walk to get to this part of the town, so everything is really close at hand. Some of you were asking about changing money. Here on the right hand side is a Lun Poly, and they have a bureau de change, so you could change money there, or there's also a Thomas Cook. Better to chapel, it's actually solicitors, but at one time it was said that Handel performed in that little chapel when he came to stay in Salisbury. There was an organ there, and he used to sit there and practice. Rather beautiful house as well, Malmesbury House. King Charles II stayed at that house. Also the famous architect Christopher Wren. Christopher Wren was called to Salisbury to save the spire. because the spire was built after the cathedral had been completed, and they didn't really make provision in the foundations for this very tall spire, 404 feet. So if you actually go into the cathedral, you'll actually see under the crossing, so underneath the spire, that it's actually leaning, and it leans 29.5 inches. But Christopher Wren came, stayed in that lovely house, and he inserted metal rods into the marble pillars, and that actually lasted until the 1985, when they had to redo his work again, but lasted for all that time. He, of course, built Piccadilly Cathedral, which maybe some of you saw in London. Rather London. Originally, this was a 13th century house for priests of the cathedral. Do any of you know the book by Ken Follett, The Pillars of the Earth? It's a fantastic novel, actually, all about the building of a cathedral. We think Salisbury Cathedral, but it's one of our complete Gothic churches. Many of our cathedrals, which you'll see, built in all different styles, called early English Gothic. Beautiful. Lots of lovely buildings and houses in this water. Many of them are houses of the clergy. There's a seminary here. Down there, where you can see the two of those, the cathedral choir school. They have their own choir and they have their own school. And then there's a boys' public school, private, which is a private school in Britain, where the boys go just there. The Salisbury and Wiltshire Museum is over the other side of the cathedral in a place we call the King's House.
It's now 11:45. This is Salisbury Cathedral. We've got until 1:30 to walk around and have lunch still. It's quite massive, actually. Sure, Teresa would love cathedrals. The good news is it's true, already doing about 2 apparently. Looking forward to the castles, actually. View to thrill Teresa inside of Salisbury Cathedral. Shot from the other side as well, I think. $13.86. There's lots of these around on the sides of the chairs. It's pretty dark. I'm shooting out a night light at the moment. It's by the choirs. See, that's the actual amount of light. That's a view of where we came in, the entrance over there, that we have to go at first, long shot up the middle. Front of the church with the altar here. What a breeze outside. front of the little gardens outside. I think, I don't know if this is the cloisters. It could be the cloisters actually.
The tower guys. Sure. Yeah, we are.
What a
Big fan
group.
of it.
Oh, yeah. Very special. Thank you very much.
Hopefully you saw some part of the Magna Carta, but that was one of the 4 original ones. The original cathedral walls, built in 1206, it was moved from Old Sarum to the new site of Salisbury. Through that gate is now the cathedral. So I'm just walking outside to the town. And down that way is the city centre, where I'm sort of headed at the moment. If this is the new one, one wonders how old the old one is. It's another piece of the original wall here. St. Anne's Gate. Down into the town now, actually, I think. I think this is where I started to eat anyway. Don't know where the rest of the bunch are. I have a special wild boar inside of the pub. This is my wild boar.
All the trees when they're in full bloom, but nonetheless rather pretty location here by the river. And if you look back to the left now, you get a rather nice view. Few swans on in the river there to the left, depending on the traffic. It's actually a very pretty route. It's not a motorway or anything, and you'll be seeing some thatched cottages. There's one just coming up on the right hand side. So lots of character on the way down. When you see the thatches, by the way, have a look, because every thatched cottage, they always have a different pattern on the top. Every thatcher will do a particular pattern on the top, and in Britain today there are some 50 full-time thatchers. It's actually a trade that almost died out in the 1960s, but it's actually grown as a trade once again. People often ask, why is there a wire netting on the thatch? That's to keep all the creepy crawlies out, because of course the thatch would be a wonderful habitat for mice or rats and various other birds and whatever, so that's why they nowadays, I mean not in the old days, but nowadays they would have had the curtains. But also on very cold nights, it was very common in those days for the whole family to sleep in the same bed, you know, to have it nice and warm for everybody. That's it. More up north, you know, it'll be dry stone walling, for example, instead of these beautiful hedges. The hedges, they're made of all different flowers and bushes, and many of them are hundreds of years old, because since feudal times, it was the Normans that sort of brought in the feudal system, where you had the lord of a manor, you know, with his land, and then the serfs, who were little more than slaves really, who worked for him and who were owned by him, and some of the freemen as well. And really the hedgerows was a way of marking out the territory or the fields of the of the people, because even the serfs would have their own little piece of land where they could grow their own vegetables or whatever to sustain themselves. Probably the worst pieces of land, but you know, the hedgerows have survived, and they are, you know, part of the look of a British countryside. When you visit our European neighbours, they don't have this system, and the fields look rather bare, you know, whereas here we have these gorgeous hedgerows. There are many wildflowers, quite a few bluebells around at the moment. You might have seen lots of Queen Anne's lace, and through the year we'll have all different wild.
We just arrived in Exeter. This is Exeter Cathedral. Time is now 4:45. I'm going to wander around the town a bit. There's still some parts near the cathedral that have been bombed, but it's still quite old. Otherwise the rest is, some of the town has actually been rebuilt, so it's quite new. A lot of kings and queens here in the front. All sorts of dates back to about 1300 and so on. This cathedral's got the longest Gothic ceiling in the world. That's my fact, not the travel, but the tour director's guide. I'm gonna go walk through the town a bit, I think. You see that these walls have weathered quite a bit. They're obviously not that young. Quite close. There's just a view on the side of the church. Quite tall. There's another view from the side of the church. It looks a bit larger than the video actually. There's a tiny church here in the corner as well. That guy I just saw in the shot just now walking in front of the camera was Don Pern. He's sitting next to me in the coach. And that cathedral I was shooting there at one shop front was 1596. That's when it was dated. It's one of the alleyways leading up away from the church. Mix of old and new here, and Exeter slightly on the hill actually. More here in Exeter. This is the Guildhall in High Street. the side roads here. Working very hard on the back roads at the moment. I must have covered about 3 k's already. And I found these ruins here.